How's everyone doing? My name is Dapper Arts, and I have me with my guest for my cosplay interview. You mind saying your name?
Yeah, hi, my name is or as my username on Instagram, MasakiPrincess.
All right. And then Misaki, can you give me kind of introduce yourself? Overall, the biggest question we can get started with was how did you get into cosplaying?
So, I have a pretty interesting story of how I got into cosplay. Growing up, obviously, at high school, I really always wanted to cosplay because I was into anime and video games and stuff at the time. I think League of Legends had just freshly came into like the world of like I guess us gamers and stuff. And I was also a really big Naruto fan. And regardless, I always said I wanted to cosplay, but it realistically didn't happen until my first convention being Florida SuperCon 2017. I decided to take the challenge of not only cosplaying, but making my first cosplay. At the time, the anime Ruby was really popular.
Yeah.
So I decided to cosplay Raven Browin from Ruby.
First, like big con was SuperCon. I remember going. Um, I believe it was Florida SuperCon was my first con as well, but that was I think back in like 2014, 2015, maybe give or take. And that was when the Miami Beach Convention Center was still like the old Miami Beach. It's not how it was, but it used to be. If you like remember it.
Yeah, no, at least when I went back in 2017, if I'm not wrong, it was at the Fort Lauderdale Convention
Yes, it.
Center.
Yeah, they did go to the Fort Lauderdale for at least I think 2 years. That was at least for me, that was more easier. Me living in Fort Lauderdale because it wasn't like a 45-minute drive; it was like a 20-minute drive, so that was nice. But the traffic was still bad, no matter regardless the parking and traffic.
Convention traffic and convention everything is
Yeah,
terrible. And at the time, I didn't think I think I didn't know if Uber was really a big thing because I don't drive, so I depend off of Uber and like public transportation. And I remember, I think my dad was doing me the favor and dropping me off, and he was like, "What type of terrible traffic did you just bring me into?"
I don't know what I was thinking during that 2017 Fort Lauderdale, like saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get there at 11." It was like so completely backed up. I remember like sitting an hour. I don't even know how I got there on time to be on not even on time, but I got there. I think I got there at like 12. I was supposed to be there at 11. I didn't even know where I parked to be honest. It was so long ago.
At one point, my dad, I think, just dropped me off at a corner, and I had to walk like
Yeah.
15 minutes with like
Yeah,
my friend.
at least if you were like being dropped off, you it could have like dropped you off anywhere and just you probably be faster walking, honestly. I had to like
It
figure
was
out like
faster
where
to
to
walk.
park. So talking about your first con and um pretty much your first cosplay. Um was cosplaying what has been the most challenge for you, like being a cosplayer or like making a cosplay? What's been you can talk about either, but what's been the biggest challenge for you?
Guess I can start with like going to Florida SuperCon 2017. This being like the first, I guess for someone who was so new to conventions,
Yeah.
this is kind of like, whoa, this is a big dog convention you're going to, at least for someone who was only used to like always hearing about Florida SuperCon but never went. I guess the challenge for me was like first picking up a sewing machine for the first time and just being like, all right, here it goes. I'm gonna do this. And my first cosplay, a lot of people don't know, I actually made it out of shower curtains. I just recycled shower curtains and just made I was like, all right, we're gonna do this. And it was a lot. It was a big learning curve because at the time you have all the like cosplayers that I looked up to growing up. Like now they're like pros, and it was just really difficult. I guess the biggest challenge I've ever had, because after 2017, I took a little bit of a hiatus because I was I don't know, I guess I got busy with life. College, takes
Yeah.
most of your time. So then I came back in 2020, yeah, like 2020. I came back to the scene of cosplay and I was like, all right, I want to get back into cosplay. And eventually it was kind of, I guess, the biggest challenge was deciding how I wanted to tackle making my cosplays, being comfortable, because like I tend to, and I think many cosplayers struggle with this, struggle with like body dysmorphia in the sense of like we tend to be our biggest critiques, or we tend to be like not the nicest to ourselves when it comes to like our insecurities. And with like anime characters or video game characters, a lot of the proportions tend to not be the most plus size friendly. Something I personally had to come to terms with was being okay with being comfortable in my own skin. And at the end of the day, like these characters are fictional, and like I make the cosplay doesn't make me, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, and then definitely with video game characters or anime characters, more or less they're like some are more human size or like more proportion to humans, more and more, I guess I would say, like exaggerated, the more or less to please like certain fan bases or please like an audience, or like just make it more dramatic. So yeah, just there's a line between, yes, you want to like copy your favorite character or your like a fictional character, but it's also a line like you're also a human. Like you can't be exactly identical. And like you do the best you can, but there's like a line between fictional and reality that I've some people have to understand. Like it can't be absolutely 100% perfect.
For sure. And a lot of where I actually struggled with that and was actually my Jinx cosplay, which I think you actually ended up
Yeah,
getting a
I
shot
love you, Jinx.
of.
I love you, Jinx cosplay, and you made that shark too, right?
I made the shark cannon. Well, it was a collaboration project.
Okay.
Me and my best friend were like, "Oh, we want to make," like I had told her I wanted to make Jinx, and I wasn't per se the biggest. This was my first time working with like hardcore EVA foam,
Mm-hmm.
because any craftsman can tell you EVA foam is a challenge of its own. I will never say like EVA foam versus sewing. They are both hard in their own ways. And it was, I guess, my first time and her first time like working with EVA foam. So it was a collaboration project that we put together, Fishbone. And then, like when I finally decided, I was like, man, I really worked really hard on Fishbone, because Fishbone took about a month to make. Um, we were like, okay, well, let's enter her. And like one of the challenges I had to face, like with Jinx, my personal challenges was, well, Jinx, as she's portrayed in Arcane and even in League of Legends, she's always like known for being a very slim, skinny character. Obviously, I'm not that. And that's okay. But something I had to be okay with was like, showing my stomach, which was something that I'm very personally insecure about. But I mean, something that someone always told me, like one of my fellow like mentors that I look up to when it comes to cosplay, was like, at the end of the day, like if someone's gonna talk about like how I look in a cosplay, then it's their opinion. The only person that can be like your biggest cheerleader is yourself. Um, and at the end of the day, if people want to like say what they say, like, or if they don't like it, they can look the other direction. But at the end of the day, as long as I'm happy with myself, like the confidence will show through.
I think that's really good pointers. Overall, just being confident with yourself, and then taking the good, taking more of the good feedback and ignoring the negative. Like some people just want to bash other people, and I don't know why. I don't understand it, but people just I don't know, just they just like doing that, and I don't see the reason why. But it's better to always show the goodness rather than the badness.
So I think it was at Anime Fan Con where I finally decided to enter my Jinx, and yeah, she took second place at the
Yeah, I was gonna
contest,
say
the
I remember
cosplay
you taking
contest.
an award.
Yeah, I took second place at the cosplay contest with my Jinx. I remember that I had done some upgrades on her because like she was a project. Like I had decided that I wanted to cosplay Jinx at a certain point, but especially once Arcane had came out, I like had told my boyfriend and my best friend, that's it, it's official. I'm going to cosplay Jinx no matter what anyone says. Because anyone that knows me knows that once I set my mind to something, I will do it.
Yeah, that's usually a good thing with doing cosplays. Once you set your mind to it, there's no stopping you. So
For sure. I'll definitely say that Jinx was the opening of me wanting to start competing in craftsmanship contests. Because eventually after Jinx, I was also working on a side project, which was my Belle cosplay, Belle from the anime film Belle.
okay,
So Belle was actually like I had seen the movie, and then also I had seen how Miss Yaya Han had made her Belle, and I got really inspired to make Belle. So she was almost a 6-month project, but I competed with her at like numerous cons, kept upgrading her, and it was actually at Miami TCG where um, so at Miami TCG, it had already been about a year and like 3 months since I had been working on Belle because she was a consistent project I had been working on, where she got best in show. Um, but yeah, no, Belle was another cosplay that was very challenging. Again, Belle, I guess, was my comfort cosplay because I related a lot to the character like Suzu and Belle. I also tend to cosplay a lot of characters that I tend to have, I guess, an attachment to. A lot of people loved my Wednesday at Florida SuperCon actually this year. She got a judge's award. Um, Long story short, my Wednesday again. I just like I said, I grew up watching Wednesday. And then with my most recent 2 builds that I just did, which was my Akali from League of Legends. It was Star Guardian Akali. She was just a project I had been working on that I had told everyone that I wanted to do, but really was a lot of challenges I had to tackle because a lot of people like if a lot of people notice a lot of the cosplays I have made have been dresses. So like if once you know how to make and pattern a dress for yourself, you kind of know how to make a lot of dresses. But with Akali, it was a little bit different because it was a bodysuit.
oh, okay,
Um, so she actually took me. I think I had remembered I made the goal like in July. I was gonna make her for Hall Mat, which was in December. Yeah, um, that cosplay nearly broke me, but we did it. And she still has room for improvement. But yeah, Akali again, I grew a connection. And then my other one, which I've been posting a lot about, is my Your Forger. So cosplay is just something I love to do for fun. I love the expression of the art form, and it's just a way that, with me being like plus size and I'm also like disabled. A lot of people see me in my mobility scooter. It's just a way that I like to represent in my community. I'm just one of the many in my communities that I'm involved in.
yeah, for sure. And so another question I had to ask is, you talked about cons and more or less like smaller cons, but is there a convention that you always wanted to go to, or is there a con that it was like you see all these cons, like wow, I want to be there? Is there a con like that?
Oh my god, there are so many cons like that. So right now, I'm trying to plan to go to one of the 3 for next year, which is well, technically 4. I'm torn. So to be decided which one I go to. I either want to go to Anime Expo, Dragon Con, MomoCon, or Anime Weekend Atlanta.
All right. Well, I've been to at least 2 of those. I've been to Momo and Anime Week in Atlanta. So those are some good cons. I've not been to Anime Expo. That's in California, right? Is someone in
That's the one
California?
that's in California. I
Yeah,
have family and friends in California. Sorry, I keep moving my plushie around.
you're good.
I have friends I have friends and family in California. And a lot of them are like, "You gotta go to AX at least once in your life." And I'm like, "Yes, but California is so expensive."
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I was looking at it, I was like, I mean, if you have friends or families, maybe that you can share maybe a room that help, but then you gotta worry about traffic now and California traffic and then getting there and parking.
It's just so expensive. Like, I think the last time I went to California for, like, a convention, not like a Comic-Con, just it was, like, some convention for work. I think it was, like, 3 grand for, like, a week,
Yeah, that's a lot. And
and I
I'm
don't have that type of money.
yeah, same. I'm trying to do some more traveling. Like I'm gonna try to go to actually try to fly to out of not out of state, but like out of Florida. Like I'm gonna try to go to KatsuCon. I'm gonna try to
That
go
was
to
another one that's on my
yeah,
list that I really wanna hit up at
yeah.
some
I'm
point.
gonna try to go to C2E2 that's in Chicago.
Oh, yeah, C2E2.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try and see, but more or less I'm gonna depending on money. That's the main thing is money and work. Um, pretty much see, but more or less try to stay within Florida and Georgia. At least try to go to bigger cons. But yeah, cosplay photographers and how do you see like cosplay photographers like being like say like you book like a new photographer or like a new location um pretty much how do you go about it and overall like what is also like a location that you kind of feel safe with doing like photos, I guess.
I normally, like, go to photographers that I know, like, when I'm, like, booking, because 'cause I've worked with a couple photographers, um, I guess I always look for recommendations, like, I like to see if people that I've known have worked with them. When it comes to, like, when you talk about, like, I guess, are you talking about, like, how I approach, like, my sessions or, like, how I feel safe on the photographer? Sorry, I'm just
Yeah,
asking for clarity.
actually, it could probably be both, but, like, how do you, like, approach it? Be like a new photographer, like, it could be, like, for free photos or you're, like, trying to look for, like, you're trying to book sessions, but how do you, like, go about it, like, the approachment?
I always look for sure to see that, like, friends that I know have worked with them because I'm one of those people that I'm really careful with who, like, takes your picture because nowadays, unfortunate reality of conventions, there are too many
Yeah.
creeps. So you got to be really careful with who takes pictures of you, and you don't know what people's intentions are. So I'm really big on working with a lot of like photographers that like I know I've seen around and I've like known how they work and their work ethic. Like, which is like why I always tend to work with like, for example, Nate Takes, or I've even worked with like Pixel Archon, or like even when it came to you, Dapper, I was comfortable with you taking my picture because I was like, oh, I know Dapper Arts. Like I've seen they've worked with people that I know. Um, I'm really big on like also like I like to book my sessions. I appreciate when photographers do free work, but I'm really big on like, I like to respect photographers' work because, they're not obligated to take pictures of anyone. So I'm really big on that. Um, because the honest reality is time is money. I don't know if
Mhm.
that's cruel to say, but to me, time is money.
No, yeah,
Um,
yeah. More or less, yes.
I feel that like photographers are like artists. They are artists and that they should be respected for their work and honored for their work. So I don't know. That's kind of just how I grew up. Um and I guess when it comes to approaching how I tackle my sessions, like a lot of the times I'm one of those people that looks up references and then I just practice in the mirror a lot, or I'm like, um, you could ask like any photographer that's worked with me. I'm like, "Hey, can you make sure like I'm posing right? Am I doing this right?"
No,
Um,
that's exactly what I do. I always make sure to have reference photos of like the character. So that's like when people book me, I always like when the book I always ask like details like um some information like and then like like the character like what you cosplaying because then that helps me look at photos and then videos I can go on YouTube and then I pretty much do like at least like a 30 minutes to an hour like research of that character and look at poses, look at videos. I get the vibe of the character. So when I take the photos in the session, I'm like, oh, I already know what this character, kind of what I see as is portrayed with other people. So yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much that. I also sometimes like look at TikTok to see how like other people who have cosplayed the character have portrayed the character and kind of, get some inspiration from there. I'm not going to go and like copy someone's session, but getting some inspiration.
Yeah.
Another big thing that I do, I guess, when it comes to location, um, I'm one of those people that I like to make sure that like when I'm shooting, the photographer is at least shooting in an area where there are people, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
No, that
not
makes
some like
sense.
closed off, isolated corner, because to me that's just a ton of red flags. Um, on top of that, I'm really big on always having someone there with me. Like for me, it's always like my boyfriend. My boyfriend is always there at every shoot that I'm with. Whether he's there just being like emotional support or he's there, just fixing my tails. Because there was actually a cosplay I did, Spirit Blossom Ari, and I remember at one point, like my boyfriend had to help Nate fix all nine of my tails because it was just a pain in the butt to like, you know, pose with them. Um, but I guess always having like I guess your go-to buddy or your go-to person, whether that's your partner or whether that's a really close friend. I always like having someone there. I have a good list of like people that I've worked with. They're all super talented in their own ways. And I guess also just looking at like what you want in your photographer. Cause like I know some photographers are more like natural lighting, others are really big on their lightings. I know others are big on composite. So I guess it also really just depends on what are you exactly looking for when it comes to your like session and what you're trying to portray.
Yeah. As a as an artist and someone who graduated with a degree in art, I can say every artist has a different unique perspective of how they do art. So yeah, if you want, it's that's why I'm like if someone wants another photographer, I'm like, all right, you probably want that kind of work. Like you want that person because of their work. You see how that is. You want that style. So I completely understand like having like a different style and like you want something different. So that's completely fine because I know not like I can't copy and paste like another photographer. Because I'm like that's not my style. I'm not going to try and do that.
For sure. So, like, it's not per se one photographer is better than the other. It's just a matter of what am I looking for when it comes to
Yeah,
portraying a
no,
character.
exactly. And then so let's talk about a little bit about Hallbat overall. We just talk about the pros and cons. How did you enjoyed it? What are some things you liked about it? And we can talk some small things of what kept kind of happened, I guess, or what you saw or heard, whatnot.
Um, Overall, Homa, I would say that there was a lot of good and a lot of not so good, to
Uh,
put it lightly.
Out of 10, what would you rate it, give or take?
Maybe a 7,
A
and
7.
that's
Okay,
being
that's
nice.
that's being okay. So overall, your experience was good, more or less. I think a 7 is like I think I would give it a close to at least like a 7 or it's just because it's my first time so I didn't have any previous experience with Palmet. I just know this is my one experience. I went, so I'm like, this is the last year that we're at the Marriott Hotel. So I was like, and everyone was telling me like, oh, you have to go. This is the last year that doing it here. You have to go. You have to. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go. So I decided on going. I mean, I had a lot of fun taking photos, and I'm not really so much a party person, and I don't like the whole like rave thing. But overall, what I heard lots of not good things. Let's say bad experience with what happened at night.
Um, Obviously, like, I don't want to say lucky because no one should be saying that they're lucky that this didn't happen to them.
Yeah.
Because in general, I feel that cons should be safe for everyone. But I was, I guess, fortunate enough that nothing happened to me, and nobody that at least I was in close proximity with in my group. But it was kind of insane. I just remember that I was, because me and my group were not the biggest ravers. I guess we're the kind of like the I guess the con people that like to go watch the Smash tournament versus going to the rave.
I would be
But
100% more down for a smash tournament than a rave. Like I don't dance. I don't want to be in that kind of atmosphere more or less. But yeah, I'm sure I more like that or like drink at the room or something like that. Something way more chill or like fun.
so pretty much like me and my group had decided to go watch the Smash tournament, which is kind of funny. Um, It was actually I think it was the first or the second night. It was one of those nights that we went to go watch the Smash tournament. And me and my like best friend, she had just switched out to just a comfy dress because it was the day we were cosplaying Star Guardians. Me and my group had done the Star Guardian group. And we had all switched. I was in my Pusheen onesie because I was like, I'm done with this
Hey, at least you were
cosplay.
cozy.
I was cozy and comfy while everyone was cold. Um, and my boyfriend had switched to just a comfortable like hoodie and shorts, and we were like, let's go watch the Smash tournament. And we had gotten a couple drinks, and then in the process of like after the Smash tournament, we decided to like just hang out. And I remember that like one of my friends was like, "Oh, you come on, you should go to the rave." And I remember that we were in line to go to the raves, and I don't know, like, I'm not really the biggest religious person or anything like that, but I got a feeling that I didn't want to go to the rave. So we decided not to go to the rave. Um, and we just hung around and we were just in the arcade room. But in the process of us walking back, because we were like, we're gonna call it early. Maybe just go back to the hotel room and make drinks there if we want to have a couple. I just remember seeing like a ton of ambulances, and I was not a ton, but I remember seeing a couple ambulances and more like the like movement of police moving up. And I was like, what's going on? Like, and me and my group were like, all right, we're just gonna get out of here because like, you know, this is not our business. Who knows what happened? I guess we'll hear about it at some point.
Yeah.
And when we got back to the hotel room, that's when Cosplay Black Book, I don't know if you've heard of them.
I'm very much I've at least followed it and I know at least what's around the air. So yes.
So they pretty much like had posted like everyone watch out, be careful for your drinks, like dump them immediately. Like the situation is dire because like in general, like at least growing up, I was always taught, like watch your drink, like and obviously this is not me trying to say that people that didn't watch their drink like were terrible or anything like that. No. It's just more in the sense of like it's an unfortunate reality that we have to be so careful when we go to conventions and like consistently not feel safe anymore. Cause pretty much home at like after the first night and hearing what happened and having friends texting me that weren't at home at um it was scary. Like I remember I was on high alert. Like I didn't even want to drink from the water because there was like this whole thing going around. I'm not really sure like 100% like what it was because there was just so much information going around, and like things were going around on Instagram and TikTok, and I just remember that at one point it just got really overwhelming. I have ADHD, I have anxiety and chronic depression. So as you can imagine, for someone who, and I tend to get very overstimulated in like high emergency situations. Like I panic and I don't really know what to do. You can imagine how getting all this information at once was scary. I can imagine for the
Yeah.
people that were going through it, it was worse. But being just a attendee there was terrifying.
No, no, definitely
Um,
for sure.
so I was lucky enough that at least my boyfriend and my best friend were like, all right, we need to get out of here. Like, this is too much for you, and this is too much for everyone.
I think Wednesday, I think I just went to bed early. Wednesday was like such a long day for me because that's why I like, yeah, I give it like a good 7 just because the parking situation, if you park there, it was so dreadful figuring out parking, and I got there early on Tuesday and parking was still bad. So this parking just made me so stressful. But
Oh my goodness, yes. Home mat in general was, I think, stressful for everyone because me and my group, we were staying at a hotel where we thought there was a shuttle because there was a shuttle at least years before from there.
yeah.
They decided not to, so we had to Uber. And Ubering, I remember I had a photo shoot and I was like, oh no, we're gonna be late. Because literally just getting in through Uber was like 45 minutes into like the Marriott World Center.
Oh wow.
It was pretty bad. And you can imagine getting an Uber home was not more fun.
No, I had a Uber at least twice to because I had to park somewhere else like on Tuesday because the whole Marriott on Tuesday still didn't allow like cars to park. Like if you had a hotel room, it was only for like hotel guests in one car. So I had to park at a different hotel. I had to Uber to the villas, and then Uber or no, actually Lobos picked me up. So Daniel picked me up and then I had to Uber in the morning because he wanted to park his car at like 4 in the morning. Some crazy hour. He wanted to park his car. So I had to Uber there, park at the green lot, take the shuttle, and then Friday, or no, Saturday. Saturday I had to Uber back, grab my car, and then I was able to park at the hotel.
I don't know, like I've been to other home mats before and you hear about crazy things happening, like the parking or like, you know, things that you would hear just about at any convention that unfortunately happen. But for some reason this year I didn't really feel safe at home at.
Mm,
I just didn't feel safe. Like I was on high alert. Obviously the panic, the anxiety didn't help. It was a lot. Like I remember they were doing bag checks, but they didn't. It's not like Disney level airport bag checks.
yeah, where you just like walk through like SuperCon. SuperCon you were able just to walk with a bag. They had like high tech like bag things. Like and
They
then they
have
were only
metal
doing like
detectors
clear
and
bags too.
everything. Yeah, they have like metal detectors and things at Florida SuperCon or even at like the Orange County Convention Center when I've gone to MegaCon. I even remember they were like pretty strict there. Um, they literally just opened my bag and were like, "All right," and that's it. I was like, "That's it? You're not gonna like go through it?
Or at
No."
least have like a stick. I know some people have like a stick.
Yeah,
They like shove a few things like, all right. Yeah, yeah, more or less with what's going on. Yeah, I feel like security should have been a little bit higher, especially after the first night. Like, or yeah, after the first night. Like the first night, you usually don't know what's gonna happen, and then after the first night, I feel like some procedures should have happened. At least what I saw, um, they try to do like only clear bags or something like that. But I don't know if that was enough to say because I also didn't attend the rave. I didn't try to because I just don't like that stuff. That's just not me to do that stuff. So like,
no,
yeah,
completely understandable. Like I said, like I didn't personally go to the raves just because it's not personally my
yeah,
scene. Um, I feel terrible about what's happened to people that were affected by the situation. I definitely hope that their stories get heard and Hallmat like takes everything that they say into account, because I feel like there is like it is important for them to like not let this happen again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely for sure. Like for 2024, if you do go, that was gonna be my last question. Um, for 2024, hopefully it'll be safer. You know, they're going to Orange County Convention. So it's going to be a new convention. They're going to have pretty much more hotels, more bookings, more rooms. So hopefully with that, there'll be more security. But that was going to be my last question. Do you think that you'll be attending 2024 Hallmat?
It really depends on a lot of things. If
Depends.
I because it depends on a lot of things. While I was not one of the people that was affected directly or affected by what happened, I still don't. I don't know. I just me as a person morally, I can't sit really right with a convention that doesn't listen to like victims, if that makes sense. People who were affected by this convention, like the precautions that weren't taken, especially like with they put out a statement where they pretty much were trying to dismiss what had happened, and then apparently there was another update where they were apologizing for, I guess, trying to dismiss what had happened. um I guess for me to feel comfortable going to Hallmat, I guess it would have to be a matter of like, obviously, being at the Orange County Convention Center for sure. I know they'll have probably more cops and more like safety procedures, but I guess also like actually not let it like taking steps to prevent this from happening to other attendees in the future, and actually like, you know, taking accountability for what's happened to the people that were affected by what happened at 2023 Hallmat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%.
But if Hallmat like actually, takes steps to actually protect it like their attendees, and actually like, take accountability for what happens and things change, then maybe you might see me at Hallmat.
All right.
Um, if not, there are plenty of other cons, and Hallmat just unfortunately won't be on my list.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, it's pending to be decided.
Pending. All right. Yeah, I'm at least that was my first that was my first hall mat. So also my first time being like at the host hotel. There was a lot of first times for me being at hall mat. So um I mean overall my experience with doing photography, on the photography side, I had lots of fun doing photography. I was like completely booked and then I saw time to do free photos. I hung out with a friend I haven't seen in like forever with
Oh
photography.
no, that's like my favorite part about Hallmat is just getting to see all my friends from out of state or from like outside of South Florida that I don't normally get to see at
Yeah.
conventions.
Yeah. So I mean, more or less I'll most likely, at least for now, I'll probably still be attending 2024. But also like December next year is gonna be busy because Anime Week in Atlanta, they moved their date from October to December. So now I have two big cons in December that at the 10 and it's at least like 1 week apart, I think.
Oh my goodness. So well, anime weekend at
Yeah.
that's gonna be harder to pick now if it's that close. That's literally me.
Yeah, I
That's
think
literally me right now.
yeah. I mean, Weekend Atlanta, I think, is like that second week, and then Hallmat is closer to Christmas. So I think that third week, I think there's like a good week apart, but I'm like, yeah, I think a lot of people are gonna decide now between in Weekend Atlanta or Hallmat. I mean, they're still both pretty good cons, but both of them are moving from hotels to the conventions as well.
For sure. I think probably like I said, if I see like there's a change or at least they're trying to take steps in the right direction, I'll consider home at. But until then, it's a pending decision for me
Pending
at least.
decision. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions and all the time we have. So, you want to give yourself a little like tag in of like where to follow you, Instagram, Twitter, username.
Oh yeah, you can follow me at obviously my Instagram, which is MasakiPrincess. You can also find me on TikTok, which is MasakiPrincess Cosplay. And that's pretty much about it. I don't really have much more than that. Sorry.
No, you're good.
But yeah, no, feel free to follow, message. I'm always willing to meet people and stuff and give tips where I can. Or if you see me at a convention, just even saying hi to me, I'm more than happy to meet people.
All right. Well, that is it. Thank you so much, and yeah, and we'll see you at the. Oh, what would be also last question? What would be the next con you'll probably be at if you know for
Oh,
I guess 2024, so people can look out for
right.
you.
So right now, I'm actually about to start my next build. I'm not ready to announce what it is
Okay.
yet. Um, but probably for sure, because work is what makes it a little complicated for me right now. I will for sure be at Otaku Fest in May.
All right.
Um, if there's anything else that I decide to go to before, I'll definitely maybe beyond Comic Con because it's really close to where I live. Um, but other than that, Otaku Fest for sure.
Otaku Fest. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Otaku Fest and their new location, new date, and all that stuff. So I'm looking forward. And
For
Otaku Fest is
sure.
very special to me because that's the first con where I got started. So that con is very special to me. So I always have to go to that con no matter what.
But yeah, for sure Otaku Fest and for sure well Florida SuperCon is always a must for me. Like that is like my tradition. I religiously will always go to Florida SuperCon.
All right.
But for sure Otaku Fest.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And if you do find Misaki, make sure to say hi at the any local cons that she mentioned. But thank you, everyone, and thank you, Misaki, for joining me.
Thanks for
And
having me.
yeah, no problem. And we'll probably doing that video next time, hopefully next week.